conversation and camaraderie going on, and people are reconnecting, and it's great to see in this day and age, and we appreciate everyone being here. But we do want to honor someone tonight, so I think we want to get started with that portion of the evening. So, again, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Todd Willard. I'm the President and CEO of Community Healthcare System, Inc. And I want to welcome everyone, and again, thank you for coming here tonight to help celebrate a legacy. And we're going to talk a lot more about that as we go on. So before we get started with a lot of the formal comments, I think we have some thank yous that we want to share tonight. One of them, of course, is thank you, all of you, for coming here tonight and showing your support for all that Dr. Tom has done over the years. We probably could have had a little bit better weather, but it's cleared up well enough for us to make it out here tonight. Also want to thank the committee who helped put this together tonight. They worked really hard on this. Also want to thank Tom's wife Marcia for all of her assistance with this. If the folks that were on the committee that helped put this together, maybe just raise your hand or jump up and down or something like that. Somebody want to raise your hand, jump up and down? Yeah, we need to go around with that. Appreciate that. Yeah, I also would be remiss if we didn't thank the maintenance team, IT, and the dietary staff for all of the work that they've done here tonight. And of course, I do have to do a special shout out to Sarah Hancock for all of her coordination of this, because believe me, if you left it to me, it wouldn't look half as good as this is. So Sarah's done a great job. So if we could just thank the committee and Sarah. Okay, one last thank you that I want to give here, and I think it's kind of a special one, it's kind of apropos also, when you think about it, is Gloria. If you're back there, can you and your team maybe step forward? And anybody back there want to drag them up there, up here?
They're coming.
Many of you, come on, get over here. Many of you, or I shouldn't say that. Some of you may know that Gloria is retiring. She has sold Boomers, and this is one of the last events, not the last, but one of the last events that she's going to be doing. Gloria and Boomers have been a great friend to CHCS over the years. They're always an organization we can count on to do a tremendous job. I want to just recognize you and your team for everything that you've done for us over the years, and wish you a wonderful retirement and great health. Thank you. Gloria, we do have. We would like you to take one of the centerpieces that we have here tonight, if you would please.
You're the retiree. Thank you, Todd.
All right, now on with the show, as they say. Okay. So I'll just try to make this brief, but many of you in this room have probably heard me say this in the past, that we are incredibly fortunate to have the medical staff that we have. It is a very unique medical staff. It is, I can clearly say it is the best medical staff that I've ever worked with in my career. And I've worked with quite a few of them. So, I mean, this one is truly special. This is unique. And it's because of the culture. And where does the culture start? Where did the culture come from? Well, the culture came from the man that we're going to be honoring tonight here. I was at a conference, so pre-COVID, several years ago, and there was a physician from the University of Kansas School of Medicine was talking to a group of CEOs about the challenges of recruiting physicians, especially in rural areas. And he was offering suggestions and best practices on what hospitals could do to try to recruit physicians, because there are more hospitals looking for physicians than there are physicians out there. And so he was really trying to help folks and try to get them to where they needed to be. But it was very interesting because towards the end of his presentation, he said, but there are a few hospitals, only a few, in the state that have exceptional leadership that don't have to recruit physicians. they draw physicians to them. And I thought that was very interesting. And he talked about these hospitals, and he said there's only a couple in the state. He said these hospitals don't have difficulty recruiting because of the physician leadership that they have. And he said the characteristics that you typically see of those individuals is that it's a physician leader that puts the patient above everything else. They support their colleagues. They actively teach their colleagues. They respect everyone in the organization and the important role that they play, whether it be housekeeping or whether it would be the nursing staff and everyone in between. They support everyone and recognize the importance that they have. He said they're enthusiastic, they have a positive attitude, and I would have to add that maybe a sense of humor and the ability to tell a great story also helps. So he didn't mention CHCS, but as I sat there, I knew exactly who he was talking about. There was no doubt he was talking about us. And it reminded me of how blessed we have been as an organization to have the leadership of Dr. Tom Walsh over all of these years. I had a gentleman I was talking to in the opening over here, and he was talking about the importance of Dr. Tom and the Walsh family to the success of Onega, and he said, this building wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Dr. Tom. And he is so true. He's so true as to what the impact has been. So tonight, we're going to hear from patients, colleagues, and family about what makes Dr. Tom so special and the legacy he has built and why we choose to work at CHCS. So I thank you. I think at this moment we're going to do a video, right? Okay, this is going to be patient stories. Okay, thank you. Oh, it says right here on my agenda if I would follow orders. Okay. Yeah, so we're gonna see a short video on some patient stories. We're gonna turn off the lights. So I'm sorry, we're gonna get used to lights going on and off as we go through this tonight. But we're gonna do that, and then we've got some other folks that want to say something. So, all right.
I've been a patient of Dr. Tom's since I had my second daughter. She is now 8 years old. We wanted him to be our family doctor when I became pregnant. And I've known him for a lot longer. I went to school with his daughter, Molly, and known him all through high school and throughout the years.
We moved here in 1987. At that time, there were some female doctors, and I did go to them. And ironically, they would move away, and I got tired of that. So I said, well, I'm going to be Tom's patient because he's not going anywhere.
You're just not a number, you're a person. He takes your time with you, and I really love his jokes.
I was having cataract surgery, and so I had one eye done, and I didn't think I was nervous, but I was when I got in there, and of course my blood pressure went up. So before I had the next one, I thought, well, I'll go see Dr. Tom to see if I need any medication or something that I maybe could take before. And so he's at Centralia that day. I went up to Centralia to see him, and he gave me a prescription, and I laid it on the bed there beside me, and we talked. And when I left, I forgot to pick it up. So I started to drive, and I thought, oh, I didn't get that prescription. So I went back in and picked it up. It was still in the room, and he was in his office. So I said, you don't happen to have anything for Alzheimer's, do you? And he said, yes, but I forgot where I put it. I thought that was, we got a good laugh out of it.
I appreciate Dr. Tom for not only his knowledge in the medical field, but his community service. He served on the city council for years, along with being a doctor, and that is a time-consuming job. And he's at every benefit here in town. I mean, you see them around town. It's not just, he just works. He's a member of our community too.
You can really tell he cares about a person, and I really appreciate that.
I'm here because of Dr. Tom. I went in for my annual checkup, and he always asks when we're done, he said, he will always ask you, is there anything that's been bothering you or has concerned you? And I told him the first time, I said, well, I'm having some chest pains and backaches, and I'll wake up in the night. And of course, we're on very familiar places. And he said, well, Jenna, when I have a middle-aged woman come in complaining of backaches, that signals we might be checking that heart. And he sent me on to Dr. Jollop, which I ended up having emergency triple bypass before that little episode was over. And that is my great appreciation of Dr. Tom, that he refers you right away.
I just I really appreciate him all this year, taking care of me and my family, and we'll miss him very much.
You are very special, Dr. Tom, and I love you very much.
I would like to say to Dr. Tom, thank him for everything. Thanks for being here and doing what he does. I mean, making house calls, you know, being a text away when you need something. He's going to be missed a lot.
The little town of Oneida was very blessed to have the Walsh family to come. They have been a big part of developing Oneida.
I hope you enjoyed those stories. I think it's a great testament to his success and what he's brought to the community. I particularly like the one where he lost the medicines and he didn't know where the Alzheimer's medicine was. So that's great. So, all right. So I think the next speaker that we have is Dr. Nancy Zieg, and she's going to introduce also the next video.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Nancy Zieg, and I'm honored to be here today to celebrate someone who's meant a lot to me and to CHCS for so many years. We all have Dr. Tom's stories, jokes, quips. We could spend all day sharing them. One of my stories occurred in the ER after I'd been here about 5 years. I saw a gentleman with an injury. I can't remember what happened. After he explained to me what happened, I said, "Are you sure your wife didn't do that to you?" He looked at me, kind of startled, and said, "You sound just like Dr. Tom." I said, "Thanks." Dr. Tom, we just saw and heard how much you've done for your patients. Now it's the medical staff's turn to thank you for your mentorship, guidance, and example. It's tough to explain everything you've done for us, but we gave it a shot in our own video. We're excited to share it with all of our patients, friends, and family gathered here today. On behalf of the medical staff, it's my pleasure to introduce our tribute video. As you see, some of us are laughing when we talk about you. Some of us are fighting tears when we think about your retirement. But all of us agree on how much we've loved working with you all these years.
here for a little over 7 years, and Dr. Walsh so far has taught me how to play cribbage, how to play a bunch of weird poker games, and a bunch of jokes that I can't repeat. He's been practicing for 46 years. You'd think he'd have more medical knowledge to share, but I'm still waiting on that.
I've had a patient that told me that, well, Dr. Walsh has a grudge against me because his dad had to go deliver me when he was 10 years old on his birthday. And I'm looking at him like, he told you that? How do you believe him? This guy's in his like 60s. I'm thinking, come on.
I admire his lighthearted demeanor. He can make patients feel at ease more so than anyone I've met. I admire his work ethic. He is here super early before anyone, and sometimes he's here really late. As recent as 3 years ago, he was taking more call than any of the other physicians at the age of 70. It's pretty incredible to see that. And as far as what he means for CHCS, I really feel strongly that CHCS wouldn't exist if it weren't for Dr. Walsh.
He's the base of CHCS. I mean, because he came back and stayed here and helped to build it. He is our base, and so we'll continue to build from what he has planted. But you know, he's going to be the legend that when the young docs come in and they don't know him, we'll be like, oh, you should have known Dr. Walsh. But yeah, he's a cornerstone of the whole system.
Nobody in this company remembers life before Dr. Tom, right? He has been a huge and integral part of CHCS for obviously many decades. And I think that, you know, we've all known for somewhere in the neighborhood of, 5 to 10 years that retirement was coming, but I think that it's difficult to say how it's going to feel that first Monday when he's not here after he retires, because he's been here for all of our careers. So he's a huge, huge pillar, for sure.
Dr. Walsh has really meant so much to us over the years, just because he's led by example. He always leads by example. He doesn't ask anybody to do anything that he wouldn't do. He is consistent, and probably most importantly, he knows his patients. He gives us the history of everything he does and everything that he sees. He knows that medicine truly isn't evidence-based. It's based on the patient, and he knows everybody's story. And I think if everybody knows Dr. Walsh, they know he knows how to tell a story. And that's what probably makes him the best physician, is the fact that he knows the story behind the patient's history as it integrates into their lifestyle, and it's a part of who he is and how he practices, and it's not just his job. And I think that's probably one of the most incredible things about him that makes him such a great physician and friend.
I would say that Dr. Walsh, why he's such an excellent mentor, is because he understands the human side of people. And probably what he's taught me the most is that medicine is not about your productivity, it's not about the numbers, it's not about the reimbursement, it's about the people. I would say a long time ago, because when I first hired on here, I hired on as his nurse associate and made rounds and those kinds of things. And one thing that he said his dad told him years ago was that you can do a lot for people, but what you do for people is not about the medications you give them, but you take the time to listen. I'd like to thank him for all the years of service that he's provided here, the years of mentorship that he's given me. I wish him well. I really hope that he and Marcia have wonderful adventures for the next many, many years. They deserve it. He gets to go be a grandpa and spoil his grandbabies. I know they've got trips scheduled, interesting places to see, so I hope they have a wonderful time on their next set of adventures.
But truly, he has been such a part of the fabric, here that is this great healthcare system, CHCS. We just wish the best for Dr. Walsh. We wish him all that time that he gave to everybody else to get some time for himself. And I know that he is a very people-oriented person. And he said, what would I do in retirement? That's why he worked so long. I just hope for him that he has time to be with his grandkids and time to be with his wife and travel and do everything that he always wanted to be able to do when he was on call and had the radio and had to stop a bike ride to jump in a car to go back to Onega to see the patient in the ER. And just wish him all the best.
Dr. Walsh, you've blessed this hospital and community beyond measure. I can't thank you enough.
I wanted to share one joke, and Dr. Walsh is always good jokes here, but I had to find one that was appropriate to share for everybody. So I thought I'd get in one kind of parting Notre Dame joke for Dr. Walsh here. So, Dr. Walsh, do you know how to make Notre Dame style eggs? You put them in a bowl too big for them, and then beat repeatedly for 3 hours.
Oh my, how appropriate. How appropriate that a tribute from his colleague should end with a Notre Dame chapter. Only appropriate. So, at this time, we have a couple of other of our physicians who would like to say a few words about Dr. Walsh, and so I'm going to ask Dr. Walsh.
Boy, I'm sure glad you made the video. The rest of this is not too serious. A few weeks ago, I told a patient a joke, and once in a while, patients will laugh at one of my jokes. This one did not. Instead, she rolled her eyes and said, "You sound just like Dr. Tom." I told her I took that as a compliment, and she said, "You would." Honestly, being told I'm like Dr. Tom, I can't think of a better compliment. Dr. Walsh, I'm incredibly thankful to have had the pleasure of working alongside you for the last decade. I consider you one of my best friends. I know what you're going to say, and before you call me a loser or tell me to get a life, I'm serious. I appreciate your friendship. You welcomed me here. The first time I met you, as a young green second-year resident here to take my first weekend of ER call, I was actually looking forward to maybe coming and having dinner with you, but you didn't invite me. Actually, the first thing you said to me, we were walking past the fountain in the lobby of the old hospital, and you said if I got hungry, I could take some coins out of the fountain and use them in the vending machine. And now you're retired. I've frequently been asked over the years when this was going to happen. When patients used to ask me, when is Dr. Tom retiring? My standard answer was that I'd probably be retiring before him. Honestly, I thought that might be a possibility, but I was wrong. I'm amazed by what Dr. Walsh has accomplished in his career. I'm in awe of his work ethic. I see the depths of his true concern for patients. I have always been impressed by his memory, his wit, and his sharp mind. I find his positive attitude and flexibility to be inspiring. He doesn't ever complain, ever. And like everyone else, I love his sense of humor. There are many things for doctors to love about a career in medicine. Most of us love the science, art, and challenge of medicine itself. Others love to teach. And for some, it's research or publications. For some of us, it's the colleagues that make our work most enjoyable. For Dr. Tom, it has never been about anything other than caring for patients. It is obvious to me that the privilege of caring for friends, neighbors, and community members has always been what he finds most fulfilling. It's why he was still coming in at 5 a.m. just last week. I was talking with a coworker the other night about how each time I hear different details about how other rural hospitals function, I'm reminded how lucky I am to be here and how lucky all of us are to have this place. We're all spoiled to have such an incredible system. I said in that video that CHCS wouldn't exist without Dr. Walsh, and that is absolutely 100% true. We are all beneficiaries of Dr. Tom's hard work, sacrifice, and service to patients for the last 47 years. This is a great place, and the credit for that goes to Dr. Tom and his family. Marcia, David, Matt, and Molly, thank you for sharing your husband and father with all of us. Dr. Tom, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for all you have done. You've been a blessing to so many. You've most certainly been a blessing to me. The opportunity to get to know you and to work with you is something I cherish. I am better because of it. Your positive impact will continue here for years to come. Dr. Tom, thank you. God bless you. I love you, and I wish you the absolute best in retirement.
David Allen, and I had written a story about King Tom and Queen Marcia and how they came to rule on the banks of the mighty Vermilion. And then they told me I had 3 minutes to talk. Two stories, and I'm not nearly as good as Dr. Tom is. First story, I was in helping Dr. Tom do a delivery one afternoon. He looked up to Dad and he said, "You were born November the 5th, 1979, weren't you?" You remember that? Yeah, middle of the afternoon. Yeah, I was. Walked out after the delivery had happened. How did you remember that? It was the day my dad died.
Oh.
And I was talking to Molly about this after, as we were meeting out here. And I said, you know, your dad was just so present for his patients. He was so present for staff. And she said, and he was present for us. He worked harder than anybody. He was here by himself for how many years? 2 to 3 years at minimum. And he kept this place going. And he kept us who we are. And he kept in touch with his family. And he has the love and admiration of his children to this day because he made that effort. The second story is this. I was over at Redbud one afternoon and a young lady came up and asked for her pill. First I ever got her pill and it didn't look like any pill I've ever seen. What was that? It's a Tic Tac. Tic Tac? How do you get away with that? It was what the patient needed. He knew the patient. He knew what she needed. He knew she didn't need a medicine to make her better. She needed somebody to care about her and what she needed. So just to reiterate the sentiments that have been shared, Dr. Walsh, we are who we are because of you. We thank you so much for the dedication and the commitment you've shared with us. We thank you, Molly, Matt, David, Marcia, for the sacrifices you've made. We thank you, Walsh family, for the sacrifices that you've made through your father and through your brother. But most of all, Dr. Tom, we thank you. Thank you so much. God bless you.
We're not going to try to compete with those two. I mean, that was fabulous. So, we do have a couple of gifts that we would like to present here to Dr. Walsh tonight. And so, if you would step forward, and Erica, if you want to stay there for a minute.
You come on up.
Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Marika Surtees. I am a nurse practitioner and the chief of provider and clinic operations here at Community Healthcare Systems. I I have been at CHCS for only a small portion of Dr. Tom's career, and it has been an honor to both work alongside him and learn from him. Although no gift can properly thank or repay Dr. Tom for all he has done for CHCS, we could not let the opportunity pass to try and demonstrate our appreciation. Excuse me. First, you've all probably noticed the large banner at the entrance. And they have also, this is Dr. Walsh. The large banner is from our hospital staff, and they've also asked that we present a gift card on their behalf. We created a memory book for you with special stories from patients and colleagues, as well as photos of CHCS associates throughout the years. Many of us are aware of your love of games, so we had a personalized cribbage board made for you. And finally, we have a special gift for you to enjoy. CHCS has purchased a signature suite at the Kansas City Royals for you to enjoy with friends and family this September.
Wow.
We hope that you enjoy all of these gifts and know our appreciation for all that you have done for CHCS and our organization and community all throughout the years. At this time, I would now like to invite a member of the Walsh family to the podium to share some thoughts.
You have to go sit down.
I think, go ahead. You get 3.
Thanks, David.
Ellis is in charge here.
I know, but unlike David, I don't know if we have a time limit. So. But I did have a lot of things that I wanted to say, but everybody's done a great job in the video and in person of saying all the nice things there are to say about Dad. I mean, he's a hard worker, and he does not do anything that he wouldn't ask anybody else to do, and all those things are true. I think what I wanted to point out is he just sets a really high standard and a really good standard, and he doesn't even know he's doing it a lot of the time. And one of the things that actually Joe Harder, I don't know where he is, but Joe Harder wrote something that I just wanted to note in the Herald, in the invitation to this, to everybody to come. He put in the notification in the Herald that doctors see people who just want to complain, and they also see them when they just need to talk. No, it's not their job, but that's what Tom and good doctors do on a regular basis because they want to help in any way they can. And that phrase, good doctor, just got me thinking because growing up, and maybe it was because he was the only doctor in town at the time, or at least my first memories of him, I just thought that's what doctors do. I never put the phrase good doctor with that because I just thought all doctors wake up at 4:30 to get to work and get home at 6:30. And, there's this movie, everyone talks about the jokes, there's this movie Patch Adams that Robin Williams did about, apparently it was a real life doctor who invented humor and laughter as a course of therapy for healing patients, and I never knew why that was such a big deal because my dad's been prescribing jokes and goofballism for years. And then he told me this story not too long ago about he had some patient that he didn't disclose any but it was something, some situation, but the insurance wasn't going to cover it, and he thought the patient needed it. And after several calls, they weren't getting through to the insurance, and so he called. And I've never heard of a doctor. None of my doctors take the time to call the insurance, but he called the insurance, and again, they wouldn't approve it, and he told me that he told the lady, okay, well, I need to know your name, and she said, why do you need to know that? And I said, well, if something happens to this patient, I need to let the family know who didn't approve this. And then she came back and said, you know what, actually, I think we can approve this. it just, things like that. And, I got up for school and he was always gone. And I got home from practice and he still wasn't home yet. And things like that. He just sets a really high standard of, I just thought that's what doctors do. So I never thought of him as a good doctor. He is a good doctor. I just thought of him as a doctor. And I've come to learn now as a gray-haired dad of 3 kids who relies on, needing medical services from time to time. You realize 2 things real quick. 1, you hate insurance companies. And 2, when you need a good doctor, there's a huge difference between a doctor and a good doctor. And Dad's always been a good one. And you can see how he's taking care of people. And it wasn't just at work either. Like, I think it was Sarah McKenzie in the video said, he was part of the community, on and off the field, so to speak, out of the office. There was somebody in the video, too, that made some comment. Or Dad told somebody that he had a grudge against him because he made his father miss his 10th birthday. I was always so impressed with how, I think David, as somebody, he is always present with his patients and present with people that he interacts with. I always felt he was present with us, even though he was always gone when we got up. He was never home when we got home, but he always got there. But I just always felt like he was around. I never felt like he got taken away from a birthday party. He just sets a really high standard, and it's one I hope we can all live up to.
Hey, I'm Matt. I appreciate you people referring to me in your things as Matt because only my mom calls me Matt. This is actually a really cool event, and I'm so happy that I can be here and see this. And everything was going well until that awful Notre Dame joke. I think someone gave up his name, Joy. I wish I had something to respond to that, but I don't. I'm pretty disappointed in myself. But anyway, Dad, this is a really cool night, and I couldn't be more proud of you. And I'm happy that you're actually able to be here and enjoy this moment and this recognition. And you're able to do it with your health, with your friends, your family, your co-workers, colleagues, and just a lot of special people in the special communities that you were fortunate enough to serve for so long. And, I think I was in a position to observe a pretty good amount of your career. I recall spending a lot of time in the waiting room of the old clinic, jumping around on those turquoise benches, I believe with ashtrays on the armrest. I remember making Dolores and Janet and Karen pretty upset, and I think Norma and Betty both were annoyed with me, and so a bunch of other people that I can't remember, or I'm forgetting to remember. But yeah, and I remember spending a lot of time in the corner office, and pretty sure Pat Flenny was fed up with me. And I remember being taken along to the occasional ER visit, again before HIPAA. And then also there was always the impromptu or ad hoc visits, usually in the aisle of the grocery store, and sometimes at Bob's Steakhouse at the table next to it. So yeah, I got to see a lot, and what I observed, I think through all of that was what's already been said many times tonight was a guy who cared. And I observed a guy who treated his patients exactly how he treated his own family. There was more than a doctor. Of course, he treated our maladies, but more than anything else, you just cared. And you assured us, even when things really weren't going to be okay. You knew that in those most difficult moments, we could count on you to provide support and genuinely just care for us. And I think that's those experiences that a lot of us in this room had. That's why a lot of us in this room are here tonight, just to appreciate you and let you know how much you cared about us and how much you positively impacted us. I know you positively impacted David, Molly, Sarah, Isaac, Larkin, myself. Let me see if I can get this right. Veda, Ben, Bart. No, Doug Pikely, Paul, Nora, May, Lou, and Jude. Got them all, but not in the right order. You positively impacted us so much, and you do all the time, and I know you positively impact Mom. And you treated us with such dignity and respect and care, empathy. and most of all, this unwavering humor that was always exactly what we needed in that moment, even when that moment wasn't so great. You made us feel, whether it was a joyous occasion or whether it was a life achievement or anything, you made us feel like we were the most important thing at that time. One of my favorite stories that you ever told me over the years, of the many stories you told, and this might shock you, it's not the one when you were a girl until you were in 3rd grade and then you turned into a boy. I've heard you tell that a lot of times. I've had to answer questions about that now from the kids. And it just happened, so I think they're on board. But, you know, it was the story of a patient you were caring for as a lady. I can't remember her name and I can't remember what year it was, but you knew that she was nearing the end of her life. And it was the middle of the night. I think you were sleeping, and maybe it was 1, 2 in the morning, I don't recall that. But as you tell it, at some point, you either felt a presence in your room, or you felt a cold come over you, but it woke you up. And when you woke up, there was this lady hovering over you. It was her apparition. She said to you, "Dr. Walsh, I just wanted to stop by and let you know that I passed away. But I also just wanted to say thank you for all that you've done for me." And off she went. And the phone immediately rang. You woke up and you went out and you answered the phone and you didn't say hello. You knew it was a hospital and you said, "Let me guess, so-and-so just passed." And they said, "Yeah, just want to call and let you know." And that was it. And I like that story because it's kind of a couple things. One, it's nice to have affirmation that there's an afterlife and that there is eternity, and no doubt she was going there. And it kind of confirms what you live by, a core of you and your spirituality and mom's spirituality and how you raised us. But I also like it because kind of a lot's been said already tonight about how much you treat your patients, how much you care for them. This person felt the need to come by and say hello and thank you even after she died. Fortunately, all of us are here today to say thank you and tell you how much we care about you and to honor and recognize your long career. So thank you.
I didn't have the forethought to print out my notes, so I'm not texting. I'm scrolling social media. But, you know, the cliche goes that doctors and sometimes dads tell their patients or kids, "Do as I say, not as I do." Well, Dad, that saying, it doesn't apply to you because you lived what you said to do, and you led by example. You and Mom have always taught, one of the most important things you taught us growing up, my brothers and I, was to take care of our friends, our family, and our community. And it's been a theme tonight throughout people's speeches that you have always given back and taken care of this community. And you live that every day. You served the patients of this community for the better part of 50 years. I think Sarah pointed out on the video, I think you've been on city council for, I don't know how long, but a really long time. And you continue to participate in the community in many ways, going to sporting events, even when your kids have long grown and left Omega. You're still there to support Omega and all it's doing. And just as a side note, anyone who doesn't know, after watching me cheer and dance on the sidelines for many years, my dad is actually an excellent dancer. He can show you all 5 positions that are fundamental in ballet. Selfishly, if it had been up to me, I would have accelerated his retirement in March 2020 when the pandemic hit. I wanted to protect my family at all costs. But fortunately for everyone here, it wasn't up to me. And Dad, you spent the next almost 2 years living by example, showing how to care for others in this community and through this pandemic, which I hope we'll never have to experience ever again. So I was putting Nora to bed the other night. She's my 4-year-old daughter. And I was telling her, "Papa's retiring soon." She kind of looks at me and she goes, "Papa's getting tired?" year after year that he took call and would be, get called to the hospital at 1 in the morning, come home, shower, turn around, go back to down on his patients at 5. And, Dad, I'm sure your job, it's not been easy, but I would have never known that. And until Nora talked about you being tired, I thought you've never, I think Marcus said, you've never complained, you've only talked about how grateful you are to have this job, and you've always talked about it in a positive light. And I'm thankful that you've gotten to do this for as long as you have, and all the wonderful things you've done for this community. And everyone here a lot of people here have thanked me tonight, and my brothers and my mom for our sacrifice, but I don't feel like I sacrificed anything, because hard as you work for the community, you were always there for us. So, here's to a long career and maybe you getting some rest so you're not tired anymore.
Okay, I'd like to invite Justin Boswell, who is the chairman of the hospital board of directors.
Thanks, Don. Yes, welcome everyone. I'm so glad you're all here. I wish the weather would have been a little warmer so we could have had the 85-year-old population come also, but I think it's pretty obvious that how much we appreciate Tom and all his contributions. I would say, and I'd be wrong about this, but I think that Tom's father came here in the late 40s, maybe 47, and to help Dr. Yeah, there you go. Ahead, look at his picture. Dr. Fleckenstein out for 3 weeks or something in the summer, and then his father came back, his mother, and I think maybe Julie at that time in 48 or something, and there's been a Walsh practicing in this area ever since, so there's going to be a void here. But I'll try to be brief because you guys didn't come to see me. You want to hear what Dr. Tom has to say. But on behalf of the board of directors of CHCS, I genuinely want to thank publicly Tom for all his contributions. His contributions are immeasurable. The whole Dr. Tom, I think you saw somebody, maybe Jan on the video, say, well, I went to see Tom. There's just this ownership and this friendship, and the one thing that Tom does better than anyone I know is he talks exactly at the right level to whomever he's speaking with. If there's a group of professionals, I suspect his language is a little different than if he's talking to a bunch of cowboys. I mean, I think he just genuinely knows his audience and listens to what they have to say. It's inadequate for me to say the word thank you, but I'll do it from time to time. I'll skip ahead here. You know, the thing with that it does, that I think, I'm just a cowboy from south of town too, but all of this, it just instills a trust. So there's a trust, and we can confide in Tom. We can say things that we wouldn't say to others. We know that he's there to help us stay well or to recover, whatever our situation is. I'm not here as part of the administration or part of the thing. I'm here like a patient because Tom and Justin's relationship is provider and patient. So the word physician means healer. And I looked it up. The word doctor comes from the Latin word for teacher. And he is a healer and a teacher. Dr. Tom has a brilliant mind and a warm, charismatic personality and is caring and compassionate beyond measure. He has given so much to so many. His example is responsible for the culture